And France's Jewish community is on edge in the aftermath of this week's targeted attack. Many are living in fear as French authorities try to flush out more terrorist cells in the country. Over the weekend, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to France's Jewish community at a Paris synagogue saying, quote, "Any Jewish man or woman who wishes to come and immigrate to Israel will be greeted with open arms and all of our warmth," end of quote. Jews in Israel echoed the Prime Minister's welcome.
I think that any Jew in France should consider immigration to Israel, and I hope that now everyone will wake up. I also hope that the security forces in France will wake up, perhaps pay more attention, try to improve the situation, and prevent these events from happening again.
It is very difficult in France these days, and we think that Bibi Netanyahu is right to say all Jews around the world, and particularly in France, should come to Israel. We have plenty of space for all Jews right here.
Marc Burleigh is an AFP reporter. I spoke with him earlier from Paris, France. Marc, let me start off by asking you to give us the latest update on the investigation of possible terror cells, other suspects that might have been involved in these attacks. What can you tell us?
Well, the two brothers who were involved in the attack on Charlie Hebdo, there's some suspicion by some investigators that maybe a cell that they were active in about a decade ago, which was recruiting Islamists to go to Iraq. There's some worry that maybe that was reactivated in some way. That's being investigated. And of course, the arms, the weapons that were used, it's about 7,000 euros worth of weapons for the three gunmen, for the brothers and for the Koulibaly, the other guy. How did these guys afford it? That's being looked into as well, the weapons and the financing.
We, of course, are past the Unity rally and even the funerals for the four who were shot at the kosher market. What's the mood in the city now? Are people returning to their regular lives?
Yes, I'd say people have gone back to it. Generally, it's a sense of relief that that drama was over. Of course, people are taking on board government warnings that we can expect other attacks. And you're kind of reminded of that on many street corners and many streets where you see soldiers that have been deployed in front of Jewish premises, schools, shops, and in front of government buildings, in front of media offices. So people are relieved. They're very proud of the big demonstration that happened on Sunday, but there is a wariness that lingers.
Well, speaking of that wariness, talk us through a little bit of the history of the relationship between the French non-Jew and the French Jewish population. There's reports that there has been an uptick in anti-Semitism.
Yeah, well, certainly the Interior Ministry said that last year there was, I think, basically doubling of the number of anti-Semitic threats that have been reported. It's an issue that has been lingering around, and you can feel that it is increasing to some degree. It has to be said, though, that in French society generally, there's not any big distinction made between Jews and non-Jews in society, if you like. Many Jews work in the media, in culture, in business. Some of the biggest businessmen in France are Jewish, but it's not really something that's sort of like waved as a flag or anything. It just exists. But there are tensions. As you probably know, about 7,000 French Jews left France last year to go to Israel. Now, we can't attribute all of that to anti-Semitic feelings, although that certainly played a factor. You have to remember as well that the economy in France is in a stagnation, basically, and there are better opportunities elsewhere.
Indeed, and of course, France has the largest population of Jewish immigrants of any other European country, as I understand it. But is there a feeling by the Jewish population there that the Republic, that the French government itself and society are not supporting them and protecting them adequately?
I think there is a feeling that more can be done. They would like to see more security, although it has to be said, like I said, there are soldiers everywhere now, and that will last for a certain period of time. I think it's moved up. It was always a priority for the government, but I think that this has become even more of a priority now, and the Jewish community are definitely doing their part in pushing that along. There are concerns here. and this will be a major issue going forward, politically, going forward into elections, going forward into many other political machinations in the months ahead.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a statement saying that if there were any French Jews that felt uncomfortable, that he encouraged them to return to Israel, to the homeland. How was that received? What was the reaction there?
Well, there was some irritation even within the Jewish community at that. The French read international press as well, and they're quite aware that there is an election in Israel coming up this year. A lot of what he was saying has seemed to feed into campaigning for Netanyahu. That said, the message was heard. Around about 1% of the French Jews, as I said, left last year for Israel. It's taken on board, but I think for a foreign leader to come in and make this appeal when it seems to be very much in his political interest, there was some cynicism attached to that.
Marc Burleigh reporting for us from Paris, France. Marc, thank you so much.
Thank you.